Kia ora koutou. Teen parents and benefit dependency, benefit receipt. To look first of all at numbers of teen parents, the pregnancies, births and abortions. Pregnancies and births are often confused when people are talking about teen birth rates. In 2009 we had almost 4,700 births to teenage women, of which approximately 2/3 were to 18 and 19-year-olds. Half of all the teen births were to Maori women, and approximately half of all teen pregnancies ended in induced abortion. These are numbers. If we look at rates, we can see the three things here: the birth rate, the abortion rate, and the two of those together, the known pregnancy rate. You'll notice also that the lines don't quite finish in 2009 because we don't have the data yet on abortions. So we don't know if the downward trend in the birth rate is a result of an increasing number of abortions or a lower number of pregnancies. You probably also know that New Zealand figures are second highest in developed countries for teen births. The teen birth rate is also very much associated with deprivation. If you live in the areas of highest deprivation in New Zealand, your risk of being a teenage mother is 6.5 times that than if you live in the least deprived areas of New Zealand. The number of teen parents in the population at any one time is difficult to establish, but if we use IRD family tax credit data, and these are for the year to March 2009, this is kind of a point in time. There are about 6,000 mothers aged 16 to 19, and around 5,000 of those were 18 and 19. 79% were sole parents. We mustn't forget the fathers in this either, but they're an even more difficult group to count. But if we look at the table here, particularly the bit that's highlighted, we know for sure that 2,414 births in 2008 involved a teenage father. But you'll see also that teenage fathers that teenage mothers often have births where the father is older. So this is quite a mixed story in that graph. We know that teen parents are at risk of a number of adverse outcomes before and after birth, but it's also important to remember these things, that they're not a homogenous group. I'm sure there are teen parents in this room who represent the full range of teen births. That circumstances preceding and following teen births vary widely, and childbearing norms and acceptance of early parenthood and support for teen parents and children varies across ethnic and other groups, and that many teen parents and their children do well. We know about them as well as the ones who don't do so well. But we know also from research that there are these known risk factors. And using the multidisciplinary studies from Christchurch and Dunedin, we have some data on the likelihood of risk factors preceding birth and following birth. And you can see from this table that compared to those who did not become mothers by age 21, women who became mothers by age 18 had the following risk factors. And you will see that there are many times multiple likelihood of these events if you become a teen mother. These were events in your earlier childhood or adolescence. We also know after birth that, again, we can see these risks, again compared to those who didn't become mothers by age 21. In teen fathers, we know, again from the longitudinal research, that it's more likely that that a young man who becomes a father as a teenager was born to a teenage mother, spent time in a single mother household, had an early initiation to sexual activity, had a history of conduct problems, and had planned to leave school early. There's an intergenerational aspect of this as well, because we know, again from those longitudinal studies, that if you compare the children of teen parents to those who are not the children of teen parents, we see these kinds of risk factors. If we look at teen parents and benefit receipt, at the end of last year, there were 4,169 teenagers receiving the DPB, and that's including the emergency maintenance allowance. Most of those were women. We also know from child support payments that 209 teenage men with dependent children received a main benefit, and 158 receiving benefits had child support payments deducted. You can do a bit of maths with the numbers that we know were fathers. And it's estimated that at least a third of the current DPB clients became parents as teenagers. So there's an issue here in terms of longer term use of the benefit. And we know, in the last point, that teen parents tend to stay longer on benefits than those who enter at an older age. So the average length of time in the 10 years following initial entry to the benefit for teenagers is 7.1 years, whereas for others who enter later, it's 6.2. And this is shown pictorially in this graph. So those who enter under 18 are more likely than those who enter at later ages to still be on the benefit 10 years later. We know too that there are significant regional differences amongst the numbers of teen mothers receiving a benefit. So this is done on the basis of numbers. The darker areas show areas where there are higher numbers of teen mothers receiving benefit. We then look at it by rates. The picture changed slightly different to a slightly different picture, but again we see these regional distinctions.